Everyone knew he was going to be good. It was kind of Austria's worst kept secret that Noah Torre was going to come in and light it up. And he did. And then you have Yannick Meyer, who is coming in from the Stuttgart Surge, former Raider. So this is a big, big deal that they've got Yannick Meyer. That might be the best receiving core in the league. Welcome back, everyone, to ELF Science Center, presented by Euronics. Now we have a bunch of stuff to get into today. We're going to be looking more into the scope of individual teams, what teams have been up to during the off-season, and some of the key signings that they have made during that period. Tons to go through. We're going to look at 5 of them today. Without further ado, let's get into the episode. Now, this got to come with a disclaimer. I could talk about all of these teams for days, and I really wish I could. However, I've got to take you guys' time into account, and therefore a lot of this is going to be quick to the point. Javarian Smith, a quarterback, mobile, former Hamburg quarterback. Some say he was released too early, and I agree. So we might have a bit of a chip on his shoulder coming in 2025 with the Prague Lions. He's going to be their quarterback. There are other 3 American spots. You get 4 American spots for those who are unfamiliar with the rules. 2 on offense, 2 on defense. Receiver, Willie Patterson, quick, lightning release, super underrated, really, really special receiver with the Rhine Fire and the Madrid Bravos. Ken Hike, Jalen Embry, both 2 very distinct corners. Ken being more the lockdown man coverage corner, Jalen being a more tough physical zone coverage corner. Both are able to turn over the ball, and I think it's going to be an extremely interesting team when it comes to all aspects, not just the Americans. You'll remember, they were 1-11 last year, one of the worst teams in the league. They're really looking to change it up this year. However, not just their Americans. They also have some really special Europeans within their team. Arthur Kingdom, linebacker from the UK, extremely long, athletic, young linebacker who I think is going to be a strong contender for Rookie of the Year. You've got Radim Kalius, the current best Czech receiver, probably one of the best Czech players they've ever had. The Frankfurt Galaxy, always such an interesting team every single season. They find themselves in storylines, even if they're not being competitive at the top of the league, they still somehow find a way into conversation. Matthew McKay has signed a quarterback. I like this signing a lot. End of the year, he came in as a replacement, ended up breaking his leg, but did show a lot of promise during his time with them, and I'm glad that they've committed to him as their long-term quarterback because he did show a lot of talent. Mobile, good arm, able to pick apart teams, and I'm excited to see what they look like with him as the planned quarterback because he was not the original guy that the offense was built around. I think now they're going to try and retool that to his structure. Speaking of which, they also have a new defensive unit, Shaheem Battle being the main one, and I think that this guy, if you're going to put an early bet on the interception leader, it's probably him. Former NC State corner, extremely good ball player. I'm excited to see what he looks like in the ELF because this is his first season in Europe. Only 23 years old, young, coming from a New York Jets practiced situation. Jared Allen has returned to the team. Former Cologne running back, had a great year last season before getting hurt. Kind of seen maybe a bit of a trend here. Could be a bit of a worrisome thing. But he is a phenomenal running back as a homegrown former Galaxy player and won the Rookie of the Year back then. Getting back on top after losing in the championship game is a feat that a lot of teams have struggled with. You can tell that Vienna Vikings had that in mind when constructing this roster in 2025, and I think they've done a damn good job of doing it so far. Ben Holmes returns at quarterback. Great sign because he was one of the MVP favourites and is one of the better quarterbacks we've seen in the ELF. He was phenomenal. Reese Horn, a legendary receiver, one of the best throughout his few years in the league, and has become one of the leading in every single category last season. And then you got Noah Torre, who was coming in as one of the young stars of the league. His rookie year, coming in from Salzburg. Everyone knew he was going to be good. It was kind of Austria's worst kept secret that Noah Torre was going to come in and light it up. And he did. And then you have Yannick Meyer, who is coming in from the Stuttgart Surge, former Raider. So this is a big, big deal that they've got Yannick Meyer. That might be the best receiving core in the league. You've got 2 outstanding Austrians, one of the best Americans at receiver, and then you have one of the best American quarterbacks behind a wall of an offensive line. I think it's going to have one of the highest scoring offenses in the ELF history, and I do not even think that's very much of a hot take. And then you factor in their Austrian core they've retained, including another addition. The Wroclaw Panthers have always been a team in the ELF that are really close to being in that playoff conversation, and they always just kind of fall short. Whether it's quarterback changes or injuries, they've had a lot of controversy around their quarterback situation. But let's start with the core of this team. David Brzozowski is one of the best running backs in Europe. No one's going to question it. He's an absolute monster. And then on the reverse side, AJ Wendland, Defensive Player of the Year nominee, the best linebacker in Europe, been around the block forever. He's played in Europe for years, and he is just the heartbeat of this defense. On the outside of the defense, on corner, and also a massive special teams aspect, considering he's a 2-time Specialist of the Year, Devin Burrell, electric kick returner. You're not going to find anything better in the kick return game in Europe than him. He's one of the best, probably in the world, at this kind of kick return. He really has mastered it. So they brought in those 3 guys. So you've got a weapon on offense with David. You've got the heartbeat of the defense, and then you've got the playmaker on defense and on special teams, and that gives one veteran leader on each side of the ball, and that is a recipe for success. Now, a team I've wanted to talk about for such a long time is the Madrid Bravos. This team is an early championship contender. They are so seriously dangerous, and especially on offense, and that's where I'm going to be focusing most of this segment, because they are absolutely electric. Former NFL quarterback Reid Sinnett is going to be leading the team. Spent some time with the Dolphins and the Bengals, a legit NFL 53-man roster quarterback, which is pretty insane. And then you have Nico Barrow, who's been a Finnish running back that I've been excited to see in the league for years. I've wanted to see him. He's coming from Dresden, making a much anticipated coming into this league. And if I'm going to compare him to someone, it's going to be Glenn Tonga. I've talked about that a lot on my platforms. He runs the same. He just has a little bit more in the passing game, which is terrifying. Number 1 receiver, your Aaron Cruikshank. He is just kind of everywhere. He's a return specialist. He's won awards in college for his returns. He can catch short, deep, intermediate. He's a blazer. He's fast. He's athletic. He's going to be a big part of this team. Another former practice squad NFL guy. Flores Calderon, one of my favorite European receivers. Spent some time with Milan. Pure outside receiver. Can go and get the ball and rip it out of people's hands. He has developed more of his intermediate game. He has developed more size. But he is hot. He is more of a sideline receiver. And then got Sixten Dragon, who I've just released a video about. Very excited for him. Possession, volume receiver in the slot. Can be a good blocker. And it's going to be very effective within this scheme, and I think that he's going to be very important in the red zone. Overall, this offense is dynamic, and there's a lot of talent on the defense as well. You've got Alessandro Fernandez, one of the best young European defenders that we have. Pablo Rea, one of the best young safeties in Europe. So this team is just oozing talent with one of the best head coaches in the game, and I think that they are a very early contender. They might be the number 1 contender as of now for the 2025 ELF Championship. And that brings us to the end of ELF Science Center episode 2. I hope you enjoyed. This was a blast to make, and just looking at teams, more individuals within this teams that sometimes people wouldn't have paid so much attention to. I advise all of you to go and watch tape on these guys because they're phenomenal. I'm really excited to see how this league plays out. If you haven't watched Nick Alfieri's one-on-one with Jadrian mentioned that there's about 6-7 different teams that you could realistically call a strong contender for this, and I couldn't agree more. I think a couple of these guys are definitely strong contenders, and I think that this year is going to be the best year that we've ever had in European American football. I'm so excited to it. I'm so excited to bring you guys the players that I want to talk about on the show that have been signed, and I think it's going to be a really, really great year. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.